Hello and welcome to episode 9 of 0451, a gaming podcast in the new year of 2019 with me, Simon, and Giles.
Hello. It seems like forever.
It does seem like forever, to the point where I've just forgotten how to do everything on a podcast.
Yeah, a good 10 minutes just figuring out what episode number we were.
Yeah, how to press the record button.
Where the record button was.
Yeah.
How are you, man?
I am very well, thank you. Yes, and yourself?
I'm wonderful, but this is mainly because it's here, Simon. This is Resident Evil 2 Remake week.
Yes.
So tomorrow is Resident Evil 2 Remake Day. So
is it out tomorrow?
yes, it's out tomorrow.
Oh, fuck.
25th.
Because you know what? I saw the Resident Evil 2 Remake, like the 30-minute demo. I saw people streaming it. I saw people, like YouTube videos and stuff like that, people playing it. You talked about it with me briefly. Now, I actually did play Resident Evil 2 a little bit the original. But
98.
Yeah, would have been then.
98, yeah.
Christ. Yeah, it's not normally my kind of game anyway. But this one looks great.
I mean, it's getting incredible reviews, and the demo was great. It seems to have cherry-picked from, all of the best parts of Resident Evil. So it's got the survival horror elements of the first one, but it's also got the kind of nice, tight controls and action controls of the fourth one.
Yeah.
But it's not action-based. It's not like 5. And it has the sort of tension and lovely aesthetics of the 7th one. So they've kind of ignored 6, I think.
Like the best parts of all of them.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. It's much more than just a remake, a standard remake. It's like a full ground up. Getting great review. I can't wait. And I mean, actually, this must be the week of appealing to my gaming nostalgia, because on the 29th is Kingdom Hearts 3.
Wow.
So
shit, you were talking about that last podcast, I believe.
Yeah. So I mean, no one's going to see me for months. That's it.
Yeah, Jesus.
So yeah, it's what? So I think the first Kingdom Hearts was 2001.
Wow.
And Resident Evil 2 was 98.
Oh wow! So this is 21 years between.
Yeah, so like 20 years ago.
21 years. It's funny if I think about like a game, for example, a game that was made in 1981. I think Pac-Man was 81. Maybe Pac-Man was 81. I think 80 or 81.
80 or 81, yeah.
Yeah, and then re-released Pac-Man in 2001, 2002. Like the scale of difference, I think, in a game that,
Well, I mean, it creeps up on you. I mean, with Pac-Man, or like, even Tetris Effect came out this year.
Okay, yeah.
Last year, 2018, to rave reviews. And I mean, that's a reworking, but, we all know Tetris is old. We all know Pac-Man is old, even though it doesn't necessarily feel that way. But like, with these PS1 remakes, Crash Bandicoot Collection, Spyro Collection, Resident Evil 2 Remake, like, it's creeping up on me. It's like, now, 21 years later, I'm like, wait, hang on, what? What? Surely not. And then I do the maths, and I'm like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, you forget.
Old.
Yeah. Doom celebrated its 25th anniversary at the end of last year.
Really?
Yep. 1993.
God. Oh, yeah, of course. Doom 25. Yeah, of course.
Doom, yeah.
The announcement of Eternal.
Yep.
Yeah, Doom Eternal's coming to Switch.
Well, I mean, Doom 2016 was on Switch, so...
But, I mean, I think it's coming day and day.
Oh, really?
I think so. I think that's the aim.
Okay.
Maybe not. But
well, I mean, if they've already got the tech there since Doom 2016, I suppose it probably not as much of a stretch as it was in the past.
Panic button working their magic with their weird Switch voodoo.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm elated this week. I'm desperately trying to finish everything else that I'm playing before tomorrow. It's not going to happen. I'm going to clear the stack for Resident Evil.
Clear the stack.
Yeah.
That's never going to happen in my lifetime, I don't think.
No.
So this is what you've been playing. Should we ask you what you've been playing? You've been playing. What have you been playing?
What have I been playing? So I've been playing a lot. Well, so they did the one-shot Resident Evil demo, which I played on 2 formats because you can only play it for half an hour.
All right.
So I played that a lot, but for an hour. But other than that, since we last spoke, let me see. I've put about 120 hours into Dragon Quest XI, which was a game I'd started some time ago when we were on a previous podcast, but I kind of like left it for a bit, and then now I've come back to it, and I've beaten that, and that was superb. JRPG. So I played an awful lot of that. And I mean, if you're a fan of JRPGs, I would say it's one of the best JRPGs of the last 10 years, 5 years maybe. It's just brilliant. It's just perfectly executed JRPG goodness. I've also been playing, speaking of JRPGs, I've been playing the hilariously named Octopath Traveler.
Why is it called Octopath Traveler?
Okay, so it's called Octopath Traveler because there are 8 characters.
Okay.
And they all
have different paths.
Have paths, yeah. Yeah.
It's really 8 different paths.
Yeah.
Because immediately I think it's called Octopus Traveler.
Project Octopus.
Which, given that it's a JRPG, isn't too much of a stretch.
No, bear in mind that the latest Kingdom Hearts release before Kingdom Hearts 3 was called Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Remix. So I wouldn't worry too much about. And like there's like games on they just make up names. There was a JRPG on the 360 called Infinite Undiscovery. Which is it's not how that works.
Infinite Undiscovery.
It's not
Undiscovery.
Yeah, it's not. That's not right, is it?
Wow.
So yeah, it's not too obscure, but yeah, Octopath Traveler. So actually, it's sort of inherent in its design philosophy, which is weird because its design is kind of one of its strengths and also one of its weaknesses, I think. So the way the game works is normally with a JRPG, you get introduced to your main character, and then you meet a band, and that main character is normally somebody who has to save the world. He's usually,
standard,
lives in a village, in a rural village somewhere, and he's the chosen one, luminary, whatever you want, Tales game, or whatever you want, and he gathers together a band of misfits from various places, and then together they save the world. Pretty much, that's your generic JRPG. Usually you have to collect 7 crystals or, some sort of stuff like that. But the way Octopath Traveler works is there's 8 characters, and you choose which of those 8 characters, you choose one of those 8 characters to start with, and it's completely up to you.
Okay.
And each of those 8 characters have a 4-chapter story.
Okay.
That is completely individual to them. Doesn't relate to any of the other characters, really.
Okay.
Other than the odd bit of overlap in the lore or whatever. But you don't need any of the other characters. And basically, you choose your first character and you do chapter 1 for them. And then you're completely free to go and unlock the other characters whenever you want and do their stories whenever you want. The only thing that blocks you is your level. So chapter 1 is like level 12. And then after that, chapter 2 is sort of level 25 to 30. Chapter 3 is like 40 to 50. So you have to grind your levels up with particular characters to do these missions. But you can do those 8 stories in any order you want, any chapter in any order you want, and you could effectively just try and do it all with one character and then pick up the other 7 characters if you wanted to. And that's a strength and a weakness because it's new and interesting because JRPGs aren't normally like that. But it means that the game is completely reliant on you caring about a particular character's story. Because from what I understand, you have to beat all 8 stories for all four chapters of all 8 stories, and then you get into an end game situation where there's new content that ties all the stories together. So to get the true ending, you have to beat all 8 characters, all their stories. So if you've got a character you don't like or you don't care about, it can be a little bit grueling because you just like. And the other problem with it is that within those 8 stories, the writing and the characterization, the character interaction is very, very strong. But unfortunately, it seems to be the strongest thing. So they all conform to a similar structure. It's always go to this town, talk to these people, maybe do a dungeon, maybe not, fight this boss. And it's like that every time. There's not really any change in design. Luckily, the battle systems are really good, so it elevates it. But it doesn't feel like a big, sprawling... You know, like... When you play I know you don't play a lot of JRPGs.
No.
But when you play a JRPG normally, a lot of the time, you have all of these systems and options, especially when you get to the point in the story where it opens up and you can kind of go where you want. You get a world map or whatever. And it gets to a point where you're like, oh, what shall I do? Shall I go and grind levels? Or shall I go and do this minigame? Or shall I go and work on this attribute or get into this system? And there's not that many systems in Octopath Traveler. So either you're grinding levels or you're doing a story. And a chapter of a story, and the chapter is talk to these NPCs, see this interaction, fight this boss. So it does have some drawbacks, but I am still thoroughly enjoying it because it's well written and well realized, and it looks beautiful. I showed you how it looks.
It does look good. It's nice,
interesting take on the sort of pixel art aesthetic.
Yeah, it's that sort of 2.5D.
Yeah,
3D background,
and so it's. I mean, if you're a JRPG fan from old school JRPGs, and you like a good story, you like good characters, and you like a really good battle system, if those are the things you're looking for from your JRPG, then it's a definite recommendation.
But you haven't finished it yet?
No, because it's fucking long.
I thought it was like most JRPGs.
I think it's long even for... Because you have to beat all character stories, and each character story is quite long, especially with grinding and stuff, so... I mean, to be fair to it, there are optional bosses, and I'm sure there's plenty to do, and there are side quests and stuff. But it just feels like very limited paths are open to you. It's not like it's not massive and sprawling in its. But I think that was intentional. But yeah, no, I haven't finished it yet. I'm about 40 hours in.
Okay.
But I think it's an 80 to 90-hour game.
What, like
minimum?
Just minimum. Wow.
I think so. If you want to do the extra content at the end to tie all the stories together, I think it's sort of 80 plus hours. Yeah.
Jesus.
So yeah, that I was trying to get it finished before Resi, unless I play 40 hours of it in the next 12 hours or whatever.
Yeah, I'm
not sure that's possible.
Not sure.
Yeah, so I've been playing that an awful lot. It's been nice to play on the Switch a little bit.
Okay.
I neglect the Switch sometimes. What else have I been playing? I'm sure I've been playing.
It's been a while. This is the thing.
Yeah.
I've probably been playing something else over Christmas, maybe.
So I don't remember. Did we speak about X4?
Yeah, we did. We did speak about X4.
Played a fair bit of X4.
Yeah.
Which is still good, but it's an X series game, so 50% of the time I love it, and 50% of the time I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
Or what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
As with most X games. I played a bunch more of Monster Hunter World, which is a game that I love Monster Hunter, but it was a game
I still haven't played it. Really need to play it. It's on PC as well.
It is now, yeah. And I'm into the thousands of hours in Monster Hunter anyway, across the old ones and Freedom Unite and stuff like that. So, yeah, I played a lot of that, played more of that. I actually tried to catch up on a few games that were getting kind of Game of the Year, nods that I'd missed. So I played some Dead Cells.
Yep. That looks really good.
Have you played Dead Cells?
Nope, still need to play it.
Yep. It's fantastic. It works so much better than you think it's going to, but unfortunately I haven't been able to put as much time into it as I'd like. I've put enough time into it to understand how the game works, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But I've not put tons and tons and tons of time into it. But it's super fun. It's kind of a really interesting... So, I don't know if you know, it's sort of a Metroidvania.
Yeah, it's a roguelike, isn't it?
Roguelike meets a Metroidvania.
Okay.
So, it's Metroidvania in the sense that that's the sort of the way the game's structured, but parts of the map are procedurally generated and change each time. And every time you die, you lose everything.
Yeah, you start.
But there are certain things you can level up and carry over, and it's about doing runs like any roguelike.
Yeah. I mean, the intro video actually demonstrates a lot of that. So
yeah. It's. But what makes it great is it feels really good to play. Like it's difficult to translate because I was looking at it for a long time and I was like, oh, shall I get it? Shall I wait till it's a bit cheaper? But I thought, no, it's getting a lot of positive feedback and a lot of great reviews, and I thought, I'll try it. But it just feels great to play, and it really balances. Like, there's a really difficult line to tread when it comes to roguelikes or super tough games that are really punishing, where it has to be frustrating enough that you want another go.
Yeah.
And it treads that line.
Dark Souls.
Yeah, like the Souls series, right? So it treads that line extremely well, because I have played it for a couple of hours, and I've not got to the point yet where I've been like, fuck this game.
Yeah.
Not even for a while. I've always been like, oh, another run.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is to do with how good it feels to play. You don't mind replaying sections.
Yeah.
Because it feels great. Played some Dead Cells. Oh, I tell you, another game I played was The Messenger, speaking of Metroidvania.
The Messenger.
Do you know of The Messenger?
No.
Okay, so it's another Metroidvania. But interestingly, it starts off as a level-based, like not a Metroidvania, like a side-scrolling platformer, like Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden, depends how you pronounce it.
No.
You know the SNES Ninja Gaiden, the really fucking hard one. So it starts off like that in 8-bit sound, 8-bit graphics, and then about halfway through the game, as part of the story, you unlock the ability to travel in time. Trying to avoid spoilers here, and it then allows you to travel to the future, and then it gets to the point where you can travel back and forth between the future and the past through certain portals. And at that point, it changes, and you go back to all the levels that you've been to before, but it becomes a Metroidvania with a map. But when you go forward in time, it changes to 16-bit.
Okay, right.
Aesthetic. So it looks like a Master System game.
You mean Mega Drive and SNES?
Yeah, actually, it looks like a SNES game and then a NES game, basically. So it starts off looking like a NES game, and even the music changes. It's the same song, but done in 16-bit.
Yep.
And then you can you have to travel back and forth in time to get to all the collectibles and get to all the open up all the map and stuff. So it starts as one thing and ends as another.
Nice.
And I mean it's relatively challenging. It's not too hard. It's not Ninja Gaiden hard. It's not. But it's very interesting. It's a very interesting idea. It's executed very well. So I would recommend it if you're interested in. If you like side-scrolling platformers, you like Metroidvania. It's a super fun game.
Yeah, I do. I mean, like, I'm not really that into side-scrolling platforms, but stuff like Dead Cells did kind of pique my interest. It looked really, really good, and that combat looked really, really satisfying. So I was actually quite tempted to pick it up. I've been doing a lot of that kind of with games recently. You know, Resident Evil Remake, for example, being one of them, and then and Dead Cells and other stuff that I can't think of right now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but I picked up a bunch that I just haven't got to yet. Like I got Smash Bros.
That's been massive over Christmas and New Year.
I haven't touched it yet. Really, I've still got to finish Pokemon, which I think I was playing the last time we spoke. So yeah, I've got to finish Pokemon. I bought Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition, which is another JRPG. Which I'm super looking forward to playing. But just no time. I bought
Ni no Kuni 2.
I beat Ni no Kuni. I've beaten Ni no Kuni 2. I beat that earlier in the year. But yeah, I mean, and then I even picked up like that Call of Cthulhu game. There's like a Lovecraft horror game that came out like a couple of months ago.
What, an RPG?
No, it's like a first person
horror.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's it's like explicitly Call of Cthulhu, because there's actually quite a lot of horror games, like the fictional games like Amnesia and stuff like that. It's like sort of like Lovecraftian influence.
Yeah, no, it's licensed. It's a licensed Lovecraft game.
Yeah.
And I haven't touched that yet, but I just picked it up because it looks interesting. But like I say, tomorrow you've got Resi. A week later you've got Kingdom Hearts, and then 15th of February we've got Far Cry.
Oh God, yeah.
New Dawn. I think it's called.
That's sort of like little sequel to Far Cry 5.
So God knows when I'm going to get through any of this shit. I haven't finished Red Dead. I haven't gone back to Red Dead.
I haven't either.
I've played it a fair bit, but not enough. I want to get back to Frostpunk. Oh, there's tons. So yeah, that's a sort of rough overview, I guess, of what I've been playing. The DLC for Assassin's Creed Odyssey came out as well. I haven't touched that
man,
yet.
did you beat Assassin's Creed Odyssey?
I platinumed it.
Oh, you did platinum it in the end?
Yeah.
I think you did mention that actually last podcast. You like 90 hours.
Yeah, I platinumed it, but I haven't touched the DLC yet.
Yeah.
Although I know there's been some controversy over the DLC.
Oh, really?
Because it apparently the story forces you into as means of the story, your character is forced into a heterosexual relationship.
Okay, yeah, no, I did read something about this.
Which Ubisoft have come under fire for, because the whole point was you could choose
whatever, yeah.
And they made a big point of being able to choose in the main game.
Yeah, you would have thought this.
So
surely.
it's a strange choice to make it.
Yeah, that is quite a strange choice.
I mean, that's really all I know about the DLC. I know the name of it, but I don't really know much about it. So I'm kind of going to go in blind because, as you know, I like Assassin's Creed.
Yep, that's good. I like it. Let's get back more into it, to be honest.
Yeah.
So all of the JRPGs.
All of the JRPGs. And like I picked up some old JRPGs that I missed because I'm just back into JRPGs now. So like I managed to find Shadow Hearts Covenant. Is that what it's called? And a couple of others. And I bought as a download on the PSN. You can get the old Suikoden games, and I just never played Suikoden. So yeah, I think I'm going to be just jammed into JRPGs now for the next.
They're an interesting breed. Something I never really got into, but day
I think we should have like an education stream where, like, you put me in front of some fucking PC.
Like simulator.
Yeah, some like flights, some stupid PC shit, and I put you in front of like a hardcore JRPG. Would you like the first 4 hours as a stream? It's like an educational stream.
We are thinking to do that, like do the stream, Black Spine media stream.
Yeah, so I think we should definitely do that.
Oh man, just like the most ridiculous fucking.
I'm not. Yeah,
I mean it, like Dwarf Fortress, the original in ASCII.
I don't even know what the fuck. Yeah. Whatever, I'm game. God no, I'll put you in front of some fucking like SNES JRPG or like a PS1.
Yeah,
yeah. Wild Arms, really obscure. What's it called? A Vagrant Story. Like
yeah.
Really, really obscure, really hardcore JRPG. You're not gonna know what the fuck is going on.
Oh man,
it's definitely a good idea. We should do that. But anyway, what have you been playing?
I've been playing, because since last time I was a bunch of things I wanted to talk about, but obviously it's been a while since I played them. But I will talk about them anyway. I've just been uncharacteristically playing one or two games the last month or so, which has mostly been games that we've already talked about as well. So,
is it time for the obligatory Hitman chat?
Is a Hitman chat? The Hitman 2 chat. I'm not going to talk about Hitman. I've even been streaming it as well. But there's a lot of stuff I've done in that game. Yeah. But I have been... I'm looking at 2 Unity prototypes over the last month or so, and one of them was a top-down shooter. So I was looking at a bunch of other top-down shooters, and these included mostly stuff like Nuclear Throne, and then I was kind of delving into looking at other stuff that was kind of half-decent top-down shooters or stuff that was like reasonably well known. Turns out there's not that much really in the top-down shoot, like the twin stick kind of shooter department.
I think
really,
we were talking about this last week, and I mentioned Housemarque to you, who are a company that make primarily console twin stick shooters, but they're really good. So like obviously Razagun and Matterfall and make games like that. But yeah, they're it's like Housemarque, but not spelled like that. Sorry, but yeah, no, they're really good. They did what was the one they did on PlayStation that they re-released, the zombie one. That was really good as well. I can't remember. Storm Divers was one of their newer ones. But they did a game on Nex Machina. Nex
Machina is like, like I've played Nex Machina actually. I've got it.
So Alienation, that's really good.
Yeah.
It's more isometric, but it's a twin stick shooter. But they did another one, Outland as well. Yeah, they did Outland. That's a Metroidvania. Dead Nation. Thank you. That's what it's called. Dead Nation. And Super Stardust.
Oh man, yeah, I remember Super Stardust. That was ages ago. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So they're like the company, or they were the company for twin stick shooters. But they apparently because the last two, Nex Machina and Matterfall, didn't do very well.
That's odd because Nex Machina was kind of critically.
Yeah. Apparently because they didn't sell too well. I think they're doing a battle royale game now. I think they're jumping on the battle royale.
Jumping on that bandwagon.
Yeah. So, but that's what I heard. But yeah. So Housemarque. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's cool. I mean, Nuclear Throne is really good. I really like it. I just like mouse control shoot, which is essentially twin stick, but it's like I like the mouse control on those kind of shooters. And I looked at stuff like Ruiner and Neon Chrome, and which is not all that great, really.
So I got Neon Chrome for free on PlayStation Plus like a year ago, and I haven't even touched it. I haven't even looked at it. But I heard Ruiner was beautiful aesthetic and design, like art style.
Yeah.
But not that satisfying to play.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. I mean, it's got a very particular aesthetic, almost like the Punisher or something, or like sort of like, like a Blade Runner meets the Punisher kind of deal going on with this sort of this kind of like Orwellian kind of theme wrapped around it. But yeah, there's a lot of melee combat. There's a lot of like small arenas to fight in, and then it's about moving from arena to arena and kind of doing fancy kind of dash moves and a little bit of, but not enough gunplay for me and not enough sort of like freedom, I suppose, really, in that game. I just find, I mean, Nuclear Throne is made by Vlambeer, who I really like their stuff, indie game stuff, which is stuff like Luftrausers and Ridiculous Fishing, I think, and Super Crate Box, I think it was one of their first ones. But yeah, Luftrausers is super cool. Nuclear Throne and like stuff like Hotline Miami, right? Like, 'cause I love Hotline Miami.
Yeah, Hotline Miami's great. I didn't play the second one.
I did play the second one. It wasn't reviewed as well for a few reasons. Things like, I think they just made it ridiculously hard, and also that it was just kind of, in some cases, I think unfair. Like you really wouldn't be able to see enemies that were shooting at you and stuff like sniper enemies and things like that. But yeah, it's been a long time since I saw the review of that. But I was also playing another game called Brigador, which is a indie game that became a kind of a commercial failure, but they released a new version of it with some of the stuff that they'd fixed. And it's like a top-down mech shooter game, but it's like it's what looks like a twin-stick shooter. And this is the creator of the game reckons where it failed, is because it looks too much like a top-down stick shooter, but really it's more of a tactical shooter. In that it's got a lot more mechanics than you would expect from a top-down shooter. So using things like smoke grenades and stuff like that. And it's got a kind of, it also has an odd control system, which is where it also fell down on. But it was okay. It wasn't really. It's got a kind of like interesting, very isometric art style where it's kind of 2D. And the creator has a video on YouTube that I watched about why he thought it failed, which was really interesting because he was quite sort of open and honest and transparent about it. And he talks a lot about things like unfamiliarity and how being too original and too which sounds like he's sort of, I don't know. So saying it now sounds like he's being arrogant, but he really wasn't, I don't think. I think he was just being quite honest. But being too innovative and original with your ideas and techniques and the mechanics of the game makes it unfamiliar and puts people off generally, unless you have a strong license behind it, or you have a strong catalog behind it. And especially if you only introduce these features sort of gradually, like you're not, as a small indie developer, putting a game out there that not only looks like a twin stick shooter, but it's not really a twin stick shooter. It's a sort of a tactical top down shooter that is actually a little bit more simulation edged. Not really that much. It's not a simulation, but has that edge to the simulation. And something where the controls are kind of unfamiliar, don't really make sense. The aiming system is not as simple because you're not simply aiming on like an X and Y plane, or depending on what 3D coordinate system you use. You're not simply aiming left to right, forward and backwards. You're also aiming up and down as well, but on an isometric viewpoint.
Weird.
So it's like, it's cool for like tactical stuff like that, those more involved mechanics of a twin stick shooter, but it doesn't make sense to most players.
Overcomplicated.
Yeah, overcomplication. And had they maybe kind of looked at some of these issues before, they would have potentially made it more successful. So I've been playing that a little bit, mostly stuff like Nuclear Throne, though. This was over Christmas. We do the obligatory like playing of Spelunky over Christmas as well.
Weird tradition.
Yeah, well, it's like just because I've been away, so I was away at Christmas, and I brought my laptop with me, and obviously I don't have my desktop PC, my console or anything, and Spelunky will run on my laptop, and I can play a 2-player, which is cool. So, me and my girlfriend have been playing that, which has been cool. And not a lot. Like, recently I played Metal Gear Solid 5. Recently. Very recent.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I know you'd played it and then put it down, and now you've come back to it.
I do that with pretty much every game.
But, I mean, while it is late to the party to talk about it now, I'm always happy to talk about Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah. I mean, we were trying to figure out, because my girlfriend, she likes looking at she saw the opening level of Metal Gear Solid 5, and which is, of course, because Metal Gear Solid is bonkers.
Yeah.
But she likes that kind of stuff, and she was like, "Oh wow, that looks amazing! I want to know all about it." And so she just does her thing where she just looks at the whole story of it, finds out what it is and everything. And now she's really excited about me finishing it. But I'm such a shitty like.
And it's long-winded to get the proper ending.
Oh man,
the one I got, I got it, but it took me ages, and I haven't 100%ed. I haven't got the platinum yet, but I got the proper ending.
Okay,
and that takes a long old time, man, because you have to repeat missions, repeat them on harder difficulties. Once you get into Chapter 2, as it's called.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It is. It's like mental. But me being me, I like pick up a game, play it for a bit, put it down again. So she's desperate for me to finish the game, so we can actually like see the ending. But that's not gonna. I mean, actually, I think I'm close now.
It'll make you think that.
Yeah,
and I mean, like you'll get close. You'll beat what is the end boss, and you'll do the ending. But then actually, there's a whole nother chapter which just involves you replaying missions again on harder difficulties, and occasionally that will unlock a new mission which will have new story content, and it will keep doing that.
The problem is I'm not even paying attention to the story because I almost can't pay attention to the story because it's so fucking bonkers.
It's not only bonkers, it's very, very convoluted. I mean, I absolutely adore Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of my favourite franchises ever. but I am fully aware of how convoluted it is. Do you know they obviously you played Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah. I played 2. I've actually completed 2 as well.
Did you play 3?
Not as much. I played a bit of 3.
Snake Eater's just...
Yeah, it's good.
That's my favourite, maybe. And I mean, it's worth also playing Peace Walker.
Yeah, 4.
No, so there's 4, which is Guns of the Patriots.
Oh.
Peace Walker was the one that was originally on PSP.
Oh.
But it was ported in the HD collection to PS3.
Oh,
and it's definitely worth playing.
Okay.
It's
really available on PS4.
And then, obviously... You can play. You can. I think maybe they're on PlayStation Now.
Yeah.
That weird streaming service.
Oh yeah.
But if not, you've got a PS3, right?
I have still got a PS3. Yeah. So yeah.
So this will give you some indication. So on PlayStation 3, when Metal Gear 4 came out, Konami released a Metal Gear Solid database for free. Which was essentially an app for your PlayStation 3, where you could see the whole story up until this point, including extra content, and a breakdown of all the events, and a breakdown of all the characters.
Right.
If you looked up Decoy Octopus, for example,
right,
from Metal Gear Solid 1,
bear
in mind, Decoy Octopus is in one scene of Metal Gear Solid 1, and you never actually see what he looks like.
Oh, God.
So you never actually see him. You see him in disguise, right?
I can tell what's coming. Yeah.
There was 14 pages of description and bio just about Decoy Octopus.
Fuck's sake.
14 pages on the character that's in one scene. And also, not only is he... I mean, a character can be in one scene, but can be absent, but can be very important. See Laura Palmer.
yes.
Twin Peaks reference.
Yeah.
I mean, she's in the show, but you know what I mean? She's an absent character from a text, but she's arguably the most important.
Yeah.
But Decoy Octopus is not that. No one is talking about Decoy Octopus after Metal Gear Solid 1. Like, really. Like, it's just crazy how deep. Yeah, I mean, have you got to the mission where... spoilers. God, it's so long.
How can you explain it in another way?
Well, there's a mission where you come across another character from Metal Gear that isn't Revolver Ocelot or who else is on your base?
I don't even know. It's like the other boss guy. What's he called?
Master Miller
fucking...
is there as well. Have you come across anyone else?
Well, I've got 2 guys on the base. One of them's like, I don't know. One of them I rescued, I think.
Yeah. So you've got Master Miller on the base, who is the guy who Liquid disguises himself as in Metal Gear Solid 1 on the Codex. And then you've got Revolver Ocelot.
Okay.
When he's younger, not as young as he is in Metal Gear 3 on the base as well.
Right.
But there's a mission you do with another character in it who's only in the mission. He doesn't come back to the base. And he's a lot younger. He's basically a child.
Okay.
But I don't know if you've done that mission yet, because that ties in really nicely to Metal Gear
Solid 1.
Solid, yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, the whole thing actually does close the cycle very well because of when it's set, and it relates mostly to the SNES, the Metal Gear.
The
Solid
original,
Snakes.
the non-solid
Metal
Gear.
Yeah, it relates mostly to them, to the Zanzibar and Outer Heaven.
Oh God, I just, it's just exhausting. Like, I don't know whether, I mean, I'm not a big stickler for story in games at the best of times, and I do think that, my theory is that, like, Metal Gear Solid did well for its mechanics in the West and its story in the East.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. But
I don't know. I don't think I'd agree with that, and especially with Metal Gear Solid 2, which I think is it's sort of got a bit of a revisionism, because people didn't like it. A lot of people didn't like it when it came out. Because
which one? Sorry,
Metal Gear 2.
2, okay.
Because they were expecting it to be more of Metal Gear 1, and it intentionally satirizes Metal Gear 1 to a point where the whole point in the game is to kind of ridicule the idea of the the generic sequel.
Uh-huh.
I think it's one of the cleverest sequels ever made.
Okay.
And I think in retrospect, a lot of people think that. But I think at the time, it was like, who the fuck is this guy? Where's Snake?
Yeah.
For a lot of the game, like, what the fuck? What's happening?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
And he did it Kojima did it intentionally because he released the Big Shell demo, which made everyone think it was going to be more Metal Gear Solid, but on PS2, new graphics, but you were playing a Snake and everything. And that's the only part in the game where you play a Snake. Just the Big Shell demo. And it's the fucking opening 20 minutes. And for the rest of the game, you play as Raiden.
Oh, man. I almost can't be bothered to look up. I mean, like, I actually had to, because the problem is also when I go back to the game in, like, bits, you know, it's even worse because I don't remember what the hell was going on anyway, and then I forget what I did in the first place. So I actually have to look up, like, Metal Gear Solid on Wikipedia, Metal Gear Solid 5 on Wikipedia to find out what the plot is so far.
I mean, it's so
I just don't,
deep as well.
Yeah. And there's lots of, you know, I mean, there's lots of real world references and lots of, you know, it's very much like the sort of zeitgeist of the era that it's set in, right? So it's you've got the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in Metal Gear 5, and that's obviously a massive part of it. And
well, I mean, yeah, and the Metal Gear
Cold War,
Metal Gear 3 is all about the fucking Cold War. Really?
Yeah, because 3. It's the Vietnam setting, right? Yeah.
And actually, that, it informs. I mean, do you remember in Metal Gear 2 the third Snake clone, Solidus?
Yes, I did. I mean, when I played it, I played it probably not that long after release. It was a long time ago.
He's the president of the United States.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Like fight him on top of the.
It just sounds like some out of, like, you know, like Hot Shots Part 2, when the president fights Saddam Hussein in the end. like is that sort of level of insanity?
I mean, it's clever how it ties into you know, real world events, but it's all very conspiracy theorist intentionally.
Thinking about it now, I'm not sure whether the president does fight Saddam Hussein in Hot Shots Part 2.
I think he
might
be
just
the first
general.
The first
I don't know.
I don't remember. Because the first one's the Top Gun spoof, right? And the
Top Gun spoof, but he's just like it's the ship commander. It's the
it's Lloyd Bridges is the president, isn't he? And in the second one, it's the Rambo
one. Yeah, that's the second one.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever.
Yeah. Tangential. I haven't seen them for a little while.
I don't know. It's like I just got the dog. Right?
But actually, the system and the engine is fucking amazing for Metal Gear 5, right?
Man, and it is mental because, I mean, and I feel like I'm playing it and I almost feel like bad for the people who made it, because I know to make it with this level of quality and polish means some people are getting divorced. Well, maybe not in Japan, but like some people are stressing themselves out to fuck.
I think, considering how it crossed the finish line, I think it's safe to say that it was a difficult development cycle. That would be my assumption, and it is an assumption.
I don't know how they.
And I don't think we'll ever know the real story, but.
Yeah, because I think people talk lots about level of quality and polish in stuff like Rockstar games, for example, but I do think some people forget some of those Japanese-made games that are just like bonkers levels of like...
Well, I mean, it's like the old joke that you never find a bug in a Nintendo-made game.
Yeah.
And I mean, although that's not true, do you know what I mean? Like, in comparison...
Yeah.
I mean, look at what...
Considering the lack of patches...
Look at what Bethesda is. Yeah. You know, look at Skyrim, even in its current form, its re-released form, versus Breath of the Wild. In terms of, you know, obviously Breath of the Wild has some issues, has some bugs, but in comparison, it's night and day.
Yeah.
And those are two very similarly structured games, I guess. Open world, and free, but.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, on a technical level, Metal Gear is that engine, the Fox engine.
Yeah. It's just crazy. I don't know.
Do you know that they make Pro Evolution Soccer in the Fox engine now?
What? No way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I love that. I love when you start looking at what engines are used for, like Snowdrop for Ubisoft, like The Division, and like Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle are made in the same engine.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. When I started working in the games industry, on my work placement, we used to make like these little games for like sort of get sold in Walmart or whatever for like $10, and they were using the Gamebryo engine, which was incidentally the same engine Bethesda used for Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
Wow, really?
Except Bethesda used a modified version of it, right?
Yeah.
But it was just funny, like it was just weird because this was obviously before. People were using Unreal, but it was like Unreal 3. It was becoming a big sort of like everyone's using Unreal
that
3
period
license,
where everything was made in Unreal. Do you remember that?
Or that kind of period.
Where, like 360.
Before that, it was like the id Software, the basically Doom and Quake engines, right? Like
360 PS3 had this period where it was just like every game you put in your console was like made in Unreal. Like everything.
Gears of start with all sort of Gears of War, and then
all those JRPGs that I was talking about, Infinite Undiscovery and stuff like that. Mass Effect was made in Unreal before, obviously Frostbite. EA. I think a lot of developers like to have their own in-house engine now for obvious reasons. So Fox is Konami's in-house engine, which is why they make Pro Evo in there.
That was the other thing I was going to say about the Metal Gear. It's just like, it's a great game, it's a great system, great engine and everything, but there's some stuff in there that like the online, I don't know what it is about. Is it Metal Gear games? I don't know. Maybe it's Konami. I don't know. But some of the online content is just frustratingly bad UI.
Right.
Design.
So what I would say is you can disconnect from the online mode in the menus.
Yeah.
You can play in offline mode.
But it's just the fact that like you load it up. I load it up after a while, and it's like you've unblocked this bloody blah.
Yeah.
Like,
so if you disconnect from the online mode, you don't get any of that shit, and you don't get the long pause between when you press to go into the UI and when it comes up.
Okay, yeah.
So like it actually makes the game much.
But does it
better.
benefit in any? Do you lose any benefit?
Not if you're not playing the base versus base multiplayer.
What?
It's all just based on.
It's got a multiplayer.
Yeah, it has you can invade other people's bases.
But, there's so like because I pressed space through about 25 screens when I loaded up the game.
Yeah. That's what
and
I
I'm
mean,
like, why? Who thought this was a good idea?
Did you know? There's a fun factoid about Metal Gear Solid 5 that there is an ending that no one has ever seen.
What?
Because one of the endings requires every single base on your entire server for the format. So for you, PC, for me, PS4, whatever you're playing it on. Every single person playing on PC that's connected, they have to destroy their nuclear weapons. They have to get nukes, and then they have to get rid of them. And once everyone has gotten rid of their nukes on that server, you get the ending. And no formats ever happened.
Of course.
So Kojima hid an ending behind that.
Because like some random, even if it like they got to the point where like it's got one guy to go, and then some random guy would pick up the game and install it, and be like, oh shit.
Yeah, getting nukes is difficult, but no one has.
I didn't even know you could get nukes. I didn't even know. This is the other thing that I had a problem with, is that the whole like sending people on missions things and upgrading your base and items, and I'm like, what? How? Like, okay, so I get the idea of like there's this sort of meta game within it where that passively gives you resources by capturing people, like ballooning them in the air, sending them to your base, and then they level up and they have a certain like initial set of skills anyway. And then you send them on missions to do things. But then there's two sets of missions, and there's ones that are like really hardcore that I can never seem to send people on because my team is not ready or something.
So you have to hire. obviously you capture people in the field and they become your team members.
Yeah.
But this is a really weird thing in Metal Gear 5 that I think actually, even though it seems very small, I think breaks a lot of that. And it's that it doesn't tell you. So, you know the binoculars
that
you have?
Yeah.
You know that if you level them up as part of your research...
The binoculars?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like you can scout people.
Yeah. And you can tell what stats they have when you scan them.
If you level them up, it says, this upgrade allows you to identify A rank and S rank people, right?
Okay.
What it actually means is S rank and A rank troops don't even spawn
without the
that upgrade.
What the fuck?
So it doesn't tell you this at all, though. So actually, it will nerf your base quite heavily because you'll just be getting Bs and Cs and Ds.
Yes.
Forever.
Yes.
Other than the odd,
Oh man, I feel like I want to play it now and rank my
rank up your fucking
binoculars.
Yeah, rank them up.
Oh man.
There's also an upgrade, I believe, later on where you can wormhole in a captured drone balloon. So
wormhole in.
Yeah, so you get wormhole technology. So
what?
It means that you can look through your binoculars and so if you say you see someone across the map that's an S rank, you can from your binoculars you can send a wormhole which opens up and then it takes them
through to the base,
through to your base in a wormhole rather than going over there.
They're like dranking them. What?
Yeah, mental fucking upgrades.
Like this is insane.
Yeah,
absolutely insane.
So, but it's hidden behind
it's just
upgrades and stuff. So.
Maybe it's just I don't know. Maybe it's my familiarity with other games, but like there just seems to be some disconnect in my mind between when I'm playing Metal Gear Solid and I'm just not fully aware of like...
You don't feel like you've got a handle on everything, right?
I don't. Yeah, that's it. And maybe that's intentional, which if it is, that's kind of cool,
it's kind of like me playing X4.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't quite know what's going on.
But there's just this sort of weird... where I'm like, okay, so and again, maybe it is just my unfamiliarity with those kind of games. Because, I mean, we talked about other games like Europa Universalis 4, which I talked about a few months ago, where I'm like, this is crazy. I don't know what the hell's going on. This is like way too complicated, even for my I like strategy, etc. games, right? But it just seems there seems some kind of odd disconnect between and because I really want to I want to get that handle. I want to feel like I'm in control of the base, and I want to understand how all the systems work, but I really don't. Maybe this is how like people who've never played video games before come to playing. I don't know. Maybe.
So the weird thing for me when I played Metal Gear 5, I just moved house and I didn't have. I was there on my own in a new place and I didn't have any internet yet. And I was in a new town. I didn't know anyone. So imagine playing that game for 200 hours without any kind of way of looking up any of those systems.
I feel like you'd go crazy.
But I actually pretty much understand every element. I mean, I've forgotten some of it because it's been a long time, but I reckon if I loaded it up and played it for 3 or 4 hours, I could pretty much explain anything you need to because I just learn every part of those systems.
I think what is cool about that, the base system, is that it's almost like they've made a whole other game. Mm-hmm. That's there. It's just like a strategy game.
You can build it
like a management game
as well.
Right? It's just like a management game in there. And I didn't, because I'm used to Metal Gear Solid being just a action third-person stealth game. I was like, what the fuck is this? When I loaded it up, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Except I don't know how to use it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically just it's all about research, all about building, and all about recruiting, but while it is almost like a separate game mode, it does tie intrinsically to being aware of it in the main missions, because not just the main missions but the side missions, and there's missions which are just like, we've got some troops that have been taken captive, go and get them, and then that just bolsters your base troops. There's side missions that are just like that, or you can just wander around the map and find them. So if you do that, then you have to be aware, like all the time, be checking troops out for S ranks or double S ranks or whatever, and then if you find them, just send them back to your base, and then as time goes on, that will bolster your base, which will bolster your research, which will allow you to send those troops out, which will allow you to get better resources, which will allow you to build better facilities on your base, which will allow you to... Do you see what I'm saying?
To build better equipment, and then it's easier to get the S-rank commissions.
Exactly.
Right?
So it cycles. It is actually...
and there's that whole other mechanic. We probably have to wrap this up in a bit, just so we can talk about Game of the Year. But there's that whole other mechanic that I didn't realise about as well, because I was like doing... This was a while ago. This wasn't recently, it was a while ago. And I was doing some of this like challenges as well, because online component is like daily challenges, and then there's some other challenges where you can unlock something by doing it. And one of them was like, get 10 headshots on guards, and then like, get 50 headshots on guards. And I was like, I thought this was mostly a stealth game, but fuck it, I'll just do that challenge, right? And then like, and I realised why afterwards, but then a couple of missions later, I was like, why am I just covered in blood all the time?
You have to shower.
And why have I... No, but I got to the point where I had the horn on my head, like the horn coming out of my head, and permanent blood on me. You can't get it off even if you wash it off. So then I realized by looking it up, like, you have to do good deeds, like especially if you save child soldiers.
It's like Fable. It's like Fable. Do you know I had a really funny mission? There's a mission where you have to get a little child out of like a
Angola.
Base. Yeah.
Right.
And I did it at night, and there's a helicopter. And I was like, fuck. And I remember it was really tough. And then eventually I got to a point where I was like, I'm going to put the child down. I'm going to take out this helicopter.
Oh, no.
And I put the child down, and I remember I fired a rocket at the helicopter, and it hit it, and it started to spin. And I remember the elation, because I was like, I'm finally going to do the mission. And then I remember slowly watching the helicopter, and I thought, I think I put the kid over there, and it landed right on the child's head. Failed the mission. And I was like, fuck's sake. I wish I'd have share buttoned it, because I just one of the greatest. Yeah.
That's so good.
Fantastic.
That's like, oh man, that got viral, that thing. Jesus.
But yeah. It's a great game. Keep at it.
Yeah.
Learn those systems.
We should probably move on.
Indeed. So you mentioned it there for a second. We haven't got news this week. Instead, we thought it best to have a little game of the year.
Yes.
For 2018.
Yes.
Not 2019.
Yes. Best games of the year.
Yeah.
As in games we think are our best games of the year.
Yeah, this is not
of 2018. It's not an official
yeah.
list like Games Awards or whatever. It's just,
this is just two.
What have you got on your list of?
Right, so I think first of all, we should take a little bit of time to... So initially, the plan was to have sort of an honourable mentions list and then a top three, which I will still stick to. However, I've also got a separate list, which is games that could have been Game of the Year, but I haven't played them that much.
Okay, yes.
So the first is, I mentioned it earlier.
These are games that were made this year?
Yes.
Okay, right,
yes.
okay. Yeah.
You made and released this year, not necessarily made this year.
Yeah.
So, the first is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
That's an honourable mention. I've not put enough time into that for me to categorically call it Game of the Year at all.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable. I mean, at the moment, where I'm at the moment, I don't think it would be in my top three anyway. But I don't want to say that categorically because I have not put the time into it, and I could foresee it being incredible by the end. But it hasn't pulled me back just yet. You know, I haven't had the draw to go back to it too much. So, Red Dead is my first one. Another one that I haven't played enough that I mentioned earlier as well is Dead Cells.
Yeah,
Dead Cells is could definitely be a contender. Another that I mentioned earlier is Octopath Traveler. So I don't think it would be Game of the Year, but it's a very good game that came out last year, and it definitely deserves a mention, even though it's not finished. And the other three I've got on my just on my not finished but honourable mentions list are three that I've played a little, loved, but put down because other things came out or other things to draw my attention, and they are Forza Horizon 4, which is a fucking fantastic racing game. I haven't got Xbox. It's PC as well.
Oh fuck! It is, isn't it? Yeah. Shit.
Everything
on
Xbox is.
Oh yeah, it's not because it's not technically exclusive.
I mean, you do have to contend with the Microsoft
Store,
but
yeah, that's why I haven't got it.
Well, I mean, you got to see.
Well, that's probably why I haven't
Thieves,
seen it, because why would I load up the Microsoft Store?
If you like racing games, it's one of the best. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I do like a good racing game. Yeah,
it's an excellent. It's one of the best. It's fantastic. Yeah. Frostpunk.
Yeah,
which
I still need to play.
I regaled you with my terrible attempt at managing.
Just like, at least, what was it? What was the quote you said?
The quote, as I left the village, one of the villagers said that they were all going to die, but they could die happy now because they knew that I'd left the village, or that I was going to die.
We're all
going
to die, but at least that guy left.
Yeah, at least we got rid of him. Yeah. So that's nice.
The shitty mayor.
Yeah, the worst. Just the worst. Just an absolute shit show. Like, I mean, I don't... But it's weird because I know that I could get better at it, I think. But I don't really know how. I thought I was doing my best. I was like, I'm doing my best, guys. And they're just like, well, we haven't got enough houses. Oh, we're freezing to death.
Isn't that how every politician feels?
Yeah. It does actually a really good job, I think, of replicating, like, how it must feel setting out to do the right thing and being pulled in separate directions.
Yeah.
And there is there's no right choice. It's like, okay, everybody dies of cold, or I instigate a law with mandatory child labour. You know, like, no one's going to like either of those decisions. But,
yeah. This is like, well...
so I need to play more Frostpunk. And the final one is one that I, again, loved but was shit at and need to get better at, is Factorio.
Did that release this year?
It came out of early access in 2018, didn't it? Or was it not even
I think it's still out of early access, but I'll give you it because I love Factorio.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
I don't think it's actually still... I think it's still in early access, but...
I could be wrong. Like, this is the thing. I haven't played it enough.
Yeah.
So maybe it came out last year, but everyone should
play it, yeah.
Factorio.
Yeah, it's good. That would definitely be one of mine, actually, although I... wow, what the hell happened there? Okay.
Your PC just went nuts.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, they're my list of not finished but potentially could be, could have been Game of the Year. Do you have any of those?
What, like, as in those that are honourable mentions?
Honourable mentions, but you haven't finished. There might be quite a lot.
Yeah, Red Dead is one of them, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Red Dead.
Or not necessarily finished, but you haven't played enough to.
Red Dead 2 is definitely one of them.
You haven't played enough to feel like you can call it Game of the Year.
Yeah. But that's actually the only one.
Okay.
That matches with yours. Although I would... Yeah, that matches with yours, really.
So now I then have a list of 11 games that are like my nominations.
Yeah.
And then I have a top 3. But if you want, you can... I don't know what you've... we did this kind of very...
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, mine, Red Dead 2, my honourable mentions, really. It's just difficult for me, I think, actually, because I probably haven't played enough games, really, to be honest, last year. Also, I don't actually feel like... I don't really think there was a lot of very highly rated games last year compared to previous years.
I wouldn't say that, but...
Yeah,
but I mean,
I don't know.
I think you and I play games differently anyway. Like, you tend to play a lot more games than I do, but not to the end.
Oh, yeah,
and
sure.
I'm more of a completionist.
Oh, yeah,
so
for sure.
That allows me to be like, okay, these are good games that I didn't finish.
Yeah.
Whereas you're happy to be like, right, I've had my fill of this game, but I have an opinion formed on it because I've played it enough.
Yeah,
you know, rather than I'm like, oh, I've got to finish it before I form an opinion.
Yeah,
it's a terrible way to be.
But I don't know. I think that's probably better in a way, but yeah, it depends on how it affects your lifestyle.
It's a little bit obsessive compulsive, I think.
Yeah, potentially, yeah, because games that are big and long. I mean, like, if it's something like film, you're like, I didn't finish the film, I've got an opinion. It's like, you know, like,
yeah, that's true.
I didn't finish that indie short.
like,
I mean, sometimes I'm bad. Like Subsurface Circular, I started playing it on a morning, and then I put it down because it wasn't because I wasn't particularly enjoying it, but I had to go and get breakfast.
Subsurface actually is one that I forgot to put on my list, but was that 2018?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it must have been. Because there's someone here that I forgot that were like...
I don't think it was. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe not.
I think because it came out on Switch this year.
Really?
Yeah. And Quarantine Circular is out on Switch as well.
Oh, it wasn't.
Yeah,
2017.
it was
2017. Anyway, I mean, mine was kind of Red Dead 2. Sea of Thieves, which I did really enjoy.
Sea of Thieves.
I really enjoyed Sea of Thieves.
Rare's Sea of Thieves.
Rare's Sea of Thieves. Yeah.
You haven't spoken much about Sea of Thieves.
No, I haven't actually, but I do actually really enjoy it. I like those aesthetics. I like open world games. Being a pirate, that's all good. I just love those little mechanics on the ship. Everything seems to be just about enough mechanics for you to get really involved in. It gives you a bit of a challenge, but not too much. That's overwhelming. Like they seem to be constantly working on new content.
Yeah. So I was going to say the criticism of it when it came out was that it was a very, very nice but very, very empty sandbox.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like
that was I haven't played it, so this is just all I'm
and that,
going on.
I think that's entirely fair. Like it is. It's a shell of it was, or at least when it came out, it was a shell, a very good shell of what it could possibly be,
what it was going
the potential
to be, maybe,
it had, because it had everything there really that you kind of expected for that, but it just didn't have enough of everything else really. I think Warhammer Vermintide 2, which is obviously the sequel to Vermintide 1, that's really good. It's probably pretty much the best Left 4 Dead clone you can get outside of Left 4 Dead.
Vermintide 2.
Yeah. Black Ops 4 I actually put up there. I mean, the thing is, some of these other ones are kind of ones that I'm not really like. I was a bit wary on, but Black Ops 4, mainly for blackout mode, really, because actually it was a very good contender for the other battle royale games that are out there. It kind of, again, it straddles the line between PUBG's more heavily simulation side and Fortnite's much more arcade feel, in a very much Call of Duty way, right?
Yeah.
And I do think it's a solid game. Far Cry 5 I completed, and that was good. Thing is, I put God of War on there, but I really shouldn't, because actually I realised that actually I'm not really got into it.
I feel like
maybe
I
don't know what it is about it. But I can, but at the same time I can see it as a quality game on console, and I totally understand why people love it.
I mean, on a technical level, it's very
yeah, really, really good. But so yeah, that's me. Do you want to carry on with your top stuff?
Right. So I'm not sure how to do this, because you've just got your top 3 now, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So maybe I'll omit my top 3 and just read you my other contenders.
Okay.
And then we'll have our little award ceremony. No one gives a shit. Like, some developer's going to listen to this and be like, oh, it was Black Spine's Game of the Year.
We won! Or like putting out thanks on Twitter.
Yeah, like anyone gives a shit about our opinions. Anyway, I will read out my other nominations, but omit my 3, and then we'll go through our 3. So, my first nomination didn't quite make it, is God of War, as we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I loved God of War. I thought it was great. I platinumed it. Couldn't put it down. Thought it was a really, really. It was really good to get a first-party, single-player exclusive with no fucking bells and whistles, no DLC, nothing. Just here it is. You know, it was like an old school way of making games. Like,
oh yeah, fuck! I keep forgetting there's no DLC.
No DLC, no microtransaction, nothing like that. And I mean, I get that's a very well-thumbed issue. I don't want to get into the weeds, but like my point is that you get God of War. You know what you're getting. It's a meaty game with lots of content.
Yep.
They did patch in a new game plus and some other stuff, which was cool, but it was free.
Not really.
And it was because of player feedback. But really, it felt like in terms of the content for the money you paid, it felt like a PS2 game.
Mm-hmm.
But on a technical level, it actually plays like one of the most impressive PS4 games, out there. It's incredible. So yeah, God of War is definitely up there. Next is Spider-Man.
On the flip side, when we talk about DLC and controversies surrounding Spider-Man costumes,
is there controversy?
there was the whole like, we want a Spider-Man costume. Give us the Spider-Man costume, and they're like, we're not going to give you the Spider-Man costume, and like some people were kicking off about the fact that they didn't get a costume.
Well, I know that they did the Raimi Spider-Man costume.
That's the one, I think
that's actually out now.
Yeah, it is out now, so they actually...
Yeah, they managed to do it. I think that it was to the wire.
I think they did it. Yeah, it was.
Whether they were going to get... And I mean... Or Maguire Man, as I like to call it.
Like... Jesus.
So, that's the thing, right? So, Spider-Man, I think, is a very, very worthwhile, very, very... I think it's good value for money, just even as is, without any DLC. I know that there's been 3 episodes of DLC out for it now. And it was a bit annoying because they announced the release date for the first DLC before the game had even come out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a bit like... Oh. But all of the suits, I think, are free. Some of them come with a DLC, I think, actually. But like they've released new suits for free.
Mm-hmm.
But the main game is enough. And there's no, like... microtransactions for leveling up quicker or microtransactions for every little thing. You know, the game is fun enough to play that you just do it all naturally.
Yeah.
But anyway, stepping away from microtransactions, anyway, it's clearly made by people who love Spider-Man and people who wanted to see a return to that Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 level.
Right. Yeah.
Of you know, and I mean, technology's moved on. And the level of fidelity and everything is just incredible. So yeah, Spider-Man, definitely on my list. Next is Far Cry 5, which these are my favourite Far Cry. I think actually maybe ever. Far Cry 3 was my favourite for years, and then I got the remastered or whatever the fuck. Terrible remaster that they gave you away for free with the gold edition of 5. Yeah. And I played it again and directly after 5. And it's a bit nostalgia going on, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit of rose-tinted glass.
Yeah. And I mean, in context, I think it's still probably the best for the series because it evolved the series into what it is now, really. But I really liked Far Cry 5. I know it comes under fire, criticism. I love the left turn ending.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fucking amazing. I know some people don't like it. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone, but I think it's like a really nice, refined version of the Far Cry formula.
Yeah.
And you played it to completion.
Yep.
So,
which is odd.
Yeah. So there must have been something in it. So yeah, Far Cry 5. The next is Return of the Obra Dinn.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
I wish I'd played more of that because that probably would have made it to the list. I reckon
it's got a lot of like nods now in Game of the Year lists and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Indie Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Just like nothing else I've ever played, really.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like its art style is just incredible. It's a thinker's game. It's not action orientated particularly.
No. But it's
I love
still interesting as well.
Yeah, I love that. But I love it for that. I love that it's not, it's about piecing together this story and the way it's told to you and the narrative structure of it. I think it's just excellent. I think it's just great. So yeah, Return of the Obra Dinn. Ni no Kuni 2. We mentioned it briefly earlier. I'm just a big fan of Ni no Kuni. I don't think it's as strong as the first one, but it's a solid JRPG. Seems to be reduced everywhere now, even though I think it sold well. But so you can pick it up cheaper now. You can get it for sort of 15, 20 quid, I think.
Okay.
Not that I'm suggesting it for you. I think that might be a little much. Before playing, you need to build your foundations first.
Finish Metal Gear 5 first
with your JRPGs. So yeah, Ni no Kuni 2, great sequel. Much more accessible than the first game, but not as good. Didn't have as good a story, I don't think. Hitman 2. Hitman 2.
Mm-hmm.
Very nearly made in my top three. Very nearly, but didn't quite make it. I think I had the added advantage of having not put enough time into Hitman 1, as in 2016 Hitman. So, and loving Hitman as a franchise, as we know, because we were always talking about it, but having sort of stepped away from it for a year or two.
Yeah.
So then, when I was ready to come back for Hitman 2, I also played all of Hitman 1 in the Hitman 2 engine.
Yeah.
So I played basically it as one big game.
Yeah.
Which kind of isn't fair because I'm not just judging it as Hitman 2, I guess. But I thought, Hitman 2 is just more of the same.
It is.
And I don't think that's a bad thing.
A bit more refined. Yeah.
A little more refined. But again, I don't have those refinements are almost completely lost on me.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I played Hitman 1, Hitman 2016.
It's not a massive amount of them anyway.
In the Hitman 2 engine. But yeah, Hitman 2 is absolutely excellent, absolutely fantastic. I hear IO have opened a new studio and they're working on a new IP.
Going to Sweden, I think.
Working on a new IP.
I think they're going to Sweden anyway, yeah.
Don't know what that IP
because
will
I
be.
think they're the one massive Danish gaming company. Now they're going to Sweden.
It's like if CCP moved out of Iceland.
Yeah.
So Hitman 2 is definitely up there. What else? So, just two more of my nominations. One is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I knew wouldn't be my game in my top three, but I liked a lot because I didn't see how it was going to work. And when I first started playing it, I was a little bit like, yeah, it's good, but it's not Assassin's Creed. But I came around on it quite a lot by the end. I think it's a great open-world RPG. I'm still not convinced it's an Assassin's Creed game through and through. I think that's kind of been lost now. It's more like a contender for The Witcher than anything else.
Okay, yeah.
But it was addictive, and it was fun, and it told an interesting story, but more than that, it had an interesting protagonist. I played as I didn't play as Alexios. I played as Cassandra.
Right. Yeah.
That isn't it, Cassandra?
I think so. Yeah.
Sorry,
pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Pulled a mind blank, even though I was just saying how interesting a protagonist. Can't remember, but yeah, no, I played as Cassandra, and I thought that she was so well voice acted and so well realised. And it treads that line that Assassin's Creed always treads, which is just realistic enough to be interesting for history buffs, but not dull.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and some new systems implemented and stuff, so great. And my final nomination that didn't make it to my top three is Monster Hunter World, which we've discussed already. Mm-hmm. I love Monster Hunter. It was a AAA update for the formula, really. Capcom's highest selling game of all time.
Yeah, that's mental.
Over 10 million copies sold.
That's mental.
DLC coming out soon as well.
So
yes. Now it's time for top three.
Top three.
How are we going to do this? Should we alternate?
No, I think maybe, yeah. Sure, why not?
So, no particular order, what are your top? What's the first of your top three?
My first, I may as well read it from the top. Is Hitman 2 is actually, but that would make sense for me.
Yes,
because I do love Hitman, and I played it a lot more over the last month or so. I've been unlocking loads of shit in it. There's so many challenges. There's so much content there. You forget how much content there is there because there's a bunch of stuff to unlock, and I'm like, oh, that isn't just unlocked in the main game. That's unlocked in the escalation contracts. I also learned how to make my own contract as well, which was cool.
Yeah, there's multiplayer.
Multiplayer, although I don't think I haven't actually tried that yet, but I don't think it's not that great because it's a bit odd.
Isn't there new escalations and obviously elusive targets?
Yeah. There's always been new escalation, new elusive targets, and some of the elusive targets will come back as well. But I do think it's a very well refined sandbox for that has steadily improved. Well, it has its ups and downs over the years, but I think that this iteration is the best of the series, despite the Blood Money was very highly rated, but. Yeah, I think it's the way these systems work with its superb level design, how they've managed to intertwine managed to keep player agency, yet also create what are seemingly almost set pieces, right, within that universe.
Emergent set pieces.
Emergent set, which is, I think, really, really good, and adds a massive amount of variety. And it's all about replayability, I think, Hitman. Yeah, so that was mine. First one. What
Nice.
about you?
So my first one is Celeste.
Yeah.
A superb side-scrolling platformer, indie, with an amazing art style, hard as balls, so hard, but geniusly designed, because if you die, you restart that screen, and when you beat the screen, it auto-saves every time you beat a screen.
Yep.
So it's never that frustrating.
Yep.
Even though sometimes you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely superb. Tight controls, feels lovely to play. Challenging, interesting, great art style, and a great writing. Like a great story about really, really it does that thing that a lot of indie games do, which is it tackles very, very interesting,
important issues,
but it does it in a very unpretentious manner. At no point is it like, look what we're doing, look how arty we're being.
That's the danger.
It doesn't at all. It's just and it's got a fucking awesome soundtrack as well. Yes, I mean, get it on everything, I think, pretty much now. PC, PS4. I think I played it on Switch. Perfect for the Switch.
Yeah, it's a very big Switch game.
But I mean, absolutely fantastic, fucking awesome. So Celeste,
play it. I've seen people playing it. I've heard people talk about it. I haven't played it. Need to play it.
Definitely play it. Definitely.
Yep. My next top 3, I should say, is Into the Breach, which is a fantastic indie game by. I was about to say by another game title. That's not right at all. Subset Games. Wow, by Subset Games.
The guys who did FTL.
FTL, Fast and Light. Yeah, 2-man team, programmer and artist both designed it. I think they take their inspiration a lot from board games, which is kind of quite obvious in their other designs as well. Into the Breach is a really, really good example of elegant mechanics at work that manage to convey deep strategy within what is a reduced environment, the one that's maybe not as familiar as you're used to with turn-based strategy games.
It's out on the Switch now.
Yeah,
and a lot of people are liking it on Switch because of the bite-sized nature of its, its design.
Yeah, so because each levels are almost like compared to other, turn-based tactics games, a lot smaller on a grid that is a lot smaller. I think it's like a 5x5 grid. Yeah, and the mechanics of it are such that it's so it's simple yet elegant, yet still conveys, and that's like it's like the holy grail of sort of game. One of the holy grails of game design, really, I suppose, is to create something simple, elegant, yet that can create deep strategic for tactics games, deep strategic experiences that also can be replayed with different results each time. Would
you say it's better than FTL?
I would say I think they're different games, actually, because I think that Into the Breach certainly is not a sequel to FTL, and but it also doesn't really share mechanics with FTL.
No. I don't mean necessarily as a direct comparison of genre or anything. I just mean in terms of your personal preference. Do you prefer it to FTL?
Good question. Seeing as I like spaceships. And I like the idea of controlling a lot of people on a spaceship, and but then again, Into the Breach. Oh man, that is a tricky one. I'm actually, gut instinct, I'm tempted to go for Into the Breach, actually.
But I just the reason I ask is because I could, like, when you played FTL, could you believed that they were going to hit it out the park so well again with their next game? Like, to follow up FTL with something as incredibly well made.
That is good. I think because I've spoken to Matt from Subset. We're in a pub after EGX Rest because he's a friend of a friend, and he said that when they did FTL, they kind of lucked out in timing because they didn't really expect to. They didn't expect FTL to be a big hit at all, right? They just made it as a sort of like a prototype side project thing that they were like, let's see, because it's Matt's engine as well.
Yeah.
So they're just like, oh, let's make this. But it was at a time when like Kickstarter was just up and coming, right? Put it on Kickstarter and they got this like massive backing from it. And then those types of indie games just seemed to be hitting it well, and they just got
It always surprised me that they never released it on any other format. I mean, I think it's out on iPad actually now.
Yeah,
but like Switch, it'd be perfect.
Again, it's probably down to because it's Matt's engine, so it's like he has to do all that stuff.
Yeah,
really. But I'm not sure. You've got to maintain it as well for bugs across many platforms. I don't know. I'm guessing. I didn't ask him about FTL so much. More into the breach, but I think especially. But this not to say that that they certainly deserved those the accolades that they got for both FTL and Into the Breach. I don't think it's you can have all the best timing in the world, but if your game's shit, then it's like you're not going to make it, right?
It's an incredible game.
So I think, but once they've got that good name behind them, and they've got the even I think even on the cover for Into the Breach, like the digital cover you see on Steam and things like that, it says from the makers of FTL, right? So it's a good indication that they're using that like sort of as a marketing hook to get people
and
to
rightly so.
get it. And rightly so, yeah, because it is really, really good. But a really great example of like elegant design that works really, really well and kind of subverts some of the rules on tactic strategy games, because one of the main mechanics is that you see the enemy's next move and your objective is to avoid that move, try and counter it, essentially. So yeah, a great game. You should check it out.
Oh, I'm going to get it on Switch, I think,
when
I get it. But yes, I definitely will. So my second game of the year, top 3, is one I mentioned earlier as well, is Dragon Quest XI. And Dragon Quest XI, it represents... It's almost like if you were to splice the DNA from the best JRPGs and create a being. Right. It would be Dragon Quest XI. And I don't mean that it's the best RPG ever made, but what it does everything that a JRPG does very well. Like, actually so well to the point where you don't mind that it's actually quite generic. Like, it doesn't have... If you actually look at it, it doesn't have really deep systems. It doesn't have... The story is your usual Dragon Quest fare, but it's just so well executed. It's like it's the Dragon Quest formula. These guys have been doing this so long. Dragon Quest came out like initially in the 80s, like it started as a JRPG, and it's. Do you know? Dragon Quest is so big in Japan that they have to release on a Saturday, because if they release in the week, no one goes to work. Apparently. Because it's so fucking... When a mainline Dragon Quest game comes out, it comes out on a Saturday. Okay.
It's like a government directive.
Which is weird, because, like, they're still going to be playing it on Monday. It's a fucking 120-hour game. But yeah. So, I mean, again, like, I know it's a little lost on yourself because you're not a big JRPG
Well, it might be a good one to pick up.
But it's just so well done, well executed. It has a few flaws, but it looks beautiful. The Toriyama art, the PS4, and it's on PC as well. It's got some criticism for its music, because there's a whole thing where they made its music and then they stripped out the orchestral version before release and put like a synth version in because of licensing issues. Apparently, I think what I heard is that the composer wants every member of his orchestra to get a cut,
Right.
and that would obviously cause all kinds of
Right. Yeah.
difficulties. So, so it has come into some criticism. But I mean, to me, the music, it did sound a little older, but actually, it just reminded me of sort of PS1 JRPGs.
Okay. So,
so it didn't really bother me that much. The combat system's great, but relatively standard for JRPG fare. It's not stupidly deep.
How's it compared to the previous title in the series then?
So it's the general consensus is that Dragon Quest VIII is the best one.
Okay. But I mean to 10.
So this is the thing. So 10 never came out in this country and was an MMO.
Okay.
And 9 was a DS exclusive multiplayer game.
Right.
So really, we haven't had a mainline single-player Dragon Quest game since
8.
Dragon Quest VIII.
Okay, so that's what you.
But also, Dragon Quest VIII was seen as the pinnacle of Dragon Quest. They were getting better and better.
Okay.
And 7 has got some issues. Mainly, it's got a very slow start.
Okay.
People like 6, people like 3, but 8 is seen as the one to beat. 8 was on PS2 and they released it on DS as well recently. Yeah. I would actually say that I don't know. I mean, I need to play 8 again on DS because I've got the DS version to play. So I don't want to really directly compare them right now. Maybe after I've played 8 again, but it's definitely up there. 9. I mean, it's coming out in a different era where more is possible. The game can be like, I mean, it's really fucking long.
Really?
Like, I think that some people will be put off by how long it is because it's really long. Like, stupidly long. Like, you think you finished it and that's just Act 1 and there's 3 acts.
Wow.
And then you beat what you think is the last boss and then it turns out that the epilogue is a whole nother act.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a third of the game again. So I think I'm up to about 140 hours and I haven't platinumed it yet. I'm close, but I haven't platinumed it yet. But I mean, if you like JRPGs at all, if you've ever enjoyed a JRPG, or if you're a fan of them, like it's one of the best to come out in a while. I mean, there are plenty of good JRPGs out there, but if you want one that came out in 2018, Dragon Quest XI. Dragon Quest XI: Echoes of an Elusive Age. That's the name.
Is that
its full title?
Tagline, yeah. Wow.
That's his full title in the West, anyway. So there you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's me now. Yeah. So my third one is Subnautica. It would have been Factorio, actually, maybe. But Subnautica is the one I will pick for now.
The irony is that my third one is also Subnautica.
Okay, right.
So I guess that Subnautica by proxy gets Black Spine's official game of the year because it's the only one that we agreed upon.
Of the 2 people that voted on this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unanimous.
Yeah, unanimous
across the board.
Subnautica.
It's not split decision.
Yeah, it's one of the best crafting survival games. Odd and not something I would expect to have been great given its theme. Like, who would have thought that I would consider a crafting and survival game to be better over the others when it's an underwater on an alien planet.
I sort of love that about it. That's sort of the thing I like most about it because like it adds this constant sense of fear.
Yeah.
And unknown. Like, really, what's crazy is like there's in crafting survival games, they always try and create this atmosphere or this location where you don't know. Like the unknown, right?
Yeah.
The fear of the unknown. But because you're on land and there's trees, there's things that you recognize.
Yeah.
But the great unknown still on Earth is the oceans,
sea,
right?
Yeah.
So it taps into this, like, I am really out of my
especially when
here.
you're like on an alien planet.
Yeah.
And you're like...
it's not like you are human as well. So you're not supposed to be under the water. Like,
it probably feeds well into the idea of that kind of like, underwater you can only see, you have to sort of draw distance, as it were. The amount you can see is kind of limited by the sort of fogginess of the water.
And like special props as well it looks so good. Like, I know that it came out in early access and I missed it completely. I bought it. I got it when it launched, when it actually launched. So it was looking amazing by the time I played it. But I know that it went through some iterations. There are a few bits of it that look kind of a bit ropey because it's an indie game.
Yeah.
But what an ambitious
Yeah.
indie game as well.
You get those two hooks, I suppose. There's that sort of the fear, the exploration, and the kind of like the fear that comes with it, but then also the kind of Sims like hook of building your base and building
Surviving.
new items and building a little doll's house underwater.
Special shout out though to actually being able somehow to lace an interesting narrative within that frame,
within an open world,
within an open world crafting. Survival game.
Oh man, I totally forgot about a whole other game that I should have put down now. Oh, and it came out. I think it hit 1.0 release. Was it this year? Maybe it was last year. Was it early this year? Okay, never mind. Carry on anyway. Carry on.
You can
carry on with this. But yes, you're right. Like, putting it because that. How often does that happen? Really.
And the story is awesome. It had me hooked completely. The ending's great. The whole thing. It's amazing that they were able to put such an engage. And also, let's not forget, there's no other NPCs.
Yeah.
In the whole game.
Yeah.
There's audio logs and stuff, but they managed to craft this story.
Yeah.
And insert it to make it feel natural. It doesn't feel unnatural at all.
Yeah.
Every time I happened across something that would further the story completely naturally.
Yeah.
It wasn't like go to this point for the story mission or don't ever.
Yeah.
It was just a natural thing, and I was caught up in all of the stories of the people that had been there before me, but you never see another soul.
Yeah.
But you're always not sure if you're going to.
Yeah.
So it's this whole kind of like, what the fuck is going on? It's superb. Superb. Game of the year.
Game of the year, Subnautica.
Yes.
I suppose the other game that I should mention would be, which I think... When did it? Yes, it did. It came right out of early access on the 17th of October 2018, and that is RimWorld. In fact, RimWorld really should have been on that list.
Would it have topped Subnautica?
It may well have done. Actually.
I haven't played RimWorld.
RimWorld is amazing. RimWorld is, again, a survival game about living on... It's basically where... it's kind of a light dwarf fortress,
right?
Essentially, is kind of it's a sort of dwarf fortress was still about crafting and creating buildings and things, but it is an accessible dwarf fortress. It uses procedurally generated world. The loose premise is basically you've crash landed on an alien planet, with a few survivors, and you have to survive. And you have to use the resources around you to build.
It's a top-down.
Yeah, it looks very kind of simple, in its art style. But what makes it interesting is the emergent narrative that comes out of the systems that it uses, especially for character development as well. Each character has a lot of different stats to them. They have a lot of... They form bonds and relationships with other characters. Sometimes they already have a relationship with the other characters. They can form new relationships with new NPCs that come their way, which includes enemies that you may have downed and then captured and then nursed back to health, and then get them to join your cause. It's a really, really deep game of crafting survival, and particularly emergent narrative, that I think is more than worthy of my sort of game of the year as well. So I'll add that to the list. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but I'm not sure what it would have replaced, potentially.
I mean, it probably would have pushed one of your top three.
It might have pushed one of them, yeah. It's just, that's a difficult one now. Yeah. I don't know what more to say about it, really, but in fact... It's getting on, isn't it?
I think, I don't think we need to say any more about it. Or any more at all.
But we're back for 2019.
We are swinging.
Yeah.
The dumpster fire returns. Yeah, with other things in the pipeline as well. Should be good. Including potentially our educational streaming.
That would be amazing. Yeah. I'm actually tempted to try out Kingdom Hearts 11 if it's the best JRPG. Dragon Quest
11.
11, sorry, Jesus.
Yeah, don't jump into Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 3. You'll have no fucking idea what's going on.
Dragon Quest 11, just if it's the best JRPG you say you play.
Well, it's certainly a very good example of a JRPG done well.
Yeah. Who knows? But yes, you can reach us, of course, at the usual channels. At Black Spine Media.
At Black Spine Media on Twitter or on YouTube or on iOS or on Spotify.
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah. Our website, blackspinemedia.com as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smash that like button.
Like and subscribe, guys.
Please do subscribe.
Yeah.
Because it helps. Just spreading the word. Building that audience.
Yeah.
Good. Well. Until next time, then.
Until next time. Bye-bye. Bye.